Hey there. So I'm looking at the astrology for Tuesday, the 25th of August, 2026, and things are starting to change again, just from yesterday's forecast. Now we've got Mercury exactly in that opposition to the North Node. The moon is changing signs and going into Aquarius, where she's going to make quite a powerful conjunction with Pluto. Granted, she does it every month, but Pluto is in a square to Chiron, and so the moon is absolutely going to get involved in that too. And we've got Mercury going into Virgo, followed by Mercury making that exact trine to Chiron. Now, I know I've alluded to this trine and this opposition in the last two forecasts. So for a short while, Mercury's been going through the sign of Leo, and he's made a conjunction with Jupiter, and it's been cozy, it's been warm. Like Mercury in the sign of Leo has got to learn a lot about how great it is to be yourself, the sort of comfort of, how habituated you are in your life, like how familiar you are with the people around you that you love. Mercury, I think, has helped us feel kind of toasty and comfortable. And in his conjunction that's just coming in exactly on Tuesday, the 25th, in his conjunction with the South Node, I'm really getting that feeling of, oh, well, this is just how I am. This is who I am. The patterns, the habitual patterns of thinking, the habitual phrases that we have all the time that keep us in these loops. There's this real sense of, oh, this is just how I am. This is how I am. Again, like I'm talking about shifts quite a lot, but it really feels like as Mercury crosses over the South Node and then into the sign of Virgo, he's looking over his shoulder and then he's saying, okay, I'm ready. A bit like if you don't have cold feet on the day of a new job or a wedding, but you're just a little bit like reminding yourself of where you've come from. And I think that's important, because when we do remind ourselves of where we've come from, we recognize our values, we recognize what's helped us to feel rooted and what's helped us to stay secure. And in fact, Mercury in his last retrograde was absolutely exploring our emotional security. So there's a lot of sort of gooey thinking going on here. So if you're feeling a little bit like, oh, I'm not quite ready to make that shift, that's completely normal. And I would say continue to remember all the things you've done well. It's really important, because as Mercury comes into Virgo later on in the day, it feels like all of a sudden Mercury's sleeves get rolled up, starts to dust down his hands, starts to limber up his fingers to either play us a new tune or write some like new thoughts about themselves. To me, it just feels like there's something that's about to emerge. And, when Mercury gets in his own sign, which he rules, which is Virgo, I mean, he's exalted in Virgo, he's going to be really in his own flow. And of course, as he goes over, he also makes that exact trine to Chiron. So there's some healing in accepting this new way of being. It really feels like there's something that you don't know you already have. And when you get there, you're reminded, oh yeah, actually, no, here I am. So to me, it feels like in actual fact, you might have like two versions of yourself, two versions of using your brain, the one that felt really warm, and then the one that feels, oh my God, I'm an expert at something. Oh my God, I forgot how great I am at this. So it's a different kind of greatness, whereas this is us basking in the sun, a bit like a lion sunning his scrotum on a Saharan plain. Now we've got Mercury going into Virgo and it's getting straight to action. He's really getting us down to it. And of course, in the opposition to the North Node, there is this feeling of compulsion to move forwards. And it feels like we absolutely do need to throw ourselves into something new. And that could very well be community oriented, especially if it helps us to feel more grounded and actually a lot more wholesome and healed, and as if there's actually nothing wrong with us. That's the sense I'm really getting, is as we come into this trine where our identity is working in a trine with Chiron, especially through these earth signs, it feels as if this is how I've always been. I've always been wholesome. I've always been healed. It's as if any thoughts of not being healed were in our minds, like we've been wearing some kind of mask, something like a filter that's stopped us from seeing that our natural birthright is to be healthy. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on here. Now, you can also see the moon's up to a lot. So, like I said, the moon's going into Aquarius. That's going to absolutely be bringing up this thought of what about the community? How do we all work together? I always think of cryptocurrency when I think of Aquarius, because Saturn gives the systems, Uranus gives the technology and the feeling of reach and the feeling of shock and modernity, and of course Uranus is in the sign of Gemini, which is all about the markets. It's also very much about how we are moving things in transit. There's a lot of movement with Gemini. And of course, Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. So to me, this is kind of neatly tied together. We're coming into a time where we're shifting and it feels like the world is shifting around us. And the moon coming into Aquarius, making a conjunction with Pluto, making a trine with Uranus. That's a lot of Aquarian energy that's being highlighted there. Pluto, the moon, the north node, whilst, the moon and Pluto are in this gorgeous trine with Uranus. This is, I think, showing that it's, as we're changing ourselves, the world is changing around us. Now, I don't know what else to say about that, but I do also recognize that the moon is going to go into a sextile with Neptune. So it's also time for us to feel really, really connected. Again, there's that word connection. Uranus in Gemini is absolutely connected on a sort of technological level, but Neptune, in Aries, I think this is us feeling connected on a sovereign level. So again, I don't know what's going on, but I do think we are changing. We are really transforming. And that's just the half of it because we're coming up to the partial lunar eclipse on the 28th. And on the 28th, all of these patterns are likely to be shaken up quite a bit. The eclipse, I'm just going to go back to the eclipse chart, which you can see here. On the day of the eclipse, you've got the moon and the north node, the sun and the south node, and Mercury, I was just talking about, all in a square to Uranus. So it really feels like something is shaking us up. Uranus is that planet of surprise. So yeah, even 2 days ago on the Sunday forecast for the week ahead, I was saying, this is the quieter part of the week. I can really see, as I'm looking more deeply, that we are being challenged to change and evolve and recognize that something we've been doing for quite a while is really passing away. It's really changing. So before I leave, let me just tell you a little bit more about Mercury into Virgo. Some of this I will already have spoken about, but yeah, Virgo is about discernment, refinement, service. Service is so important. Improvement is massive, and usefulness. And of course, Mercury is the planet of mind, trading, communication, learning. It's highly social. So the shadow side of this, very similar to the sun's shadow in Virgo, is that we become a perfectionist. But this is sort of perfectionist thinking, which is nitpicking, and it can be a little bit fussy, can be quite critical, and a word that I really like, pedantry, like you can become pedantic, very skeptical. But the strengths of this time is we can get a lot of stuff done. We can really hone in on things, analysis about our life, the things that really are important. We're really observant during this time. We'll see things really clearly. It's like our filters that we've had over our eyes are going to really clear. Yeah, I really think we're going to notice what matters, and we're going to be working on something that's making life more useful. So my question is, what is it that you're working on? Like, how are you making things more useful at home for yourself, in your daily life, in your job, in your community, in your family? And so it sounds like there is this planetary influence to shift us, to create change for us, and to kind of sort of push us in this new direction. And of course, that can feel a little overwhelming. If you would like to learn more about how you are dealing with overwhelm, or how you're dealing with your mind, come and join me in my 5-minute astrology challenge, where I put a daily question with a tiny, teeny bit of astrology around it, less than 5 minutes, guaranteed. And with that, there's a question that's opening you up to a different part of your birth chart, a different part of your life, which hopefully will help to unpick some of these questions. If you want to join us, feel free to watch the video here or come directly to my school community. And there you can have the discussion with other people around you. So sending you lots of love. I hope things are going beautifully this week for you, and that the new thing that you're discovering about yourself is going to be very useful to you and feel really, really authentic. Loads of love. Catch you later. Take care.